Hello, friends. Today we're going to be talking with Dr. Jeffrey Heier about the Notal Home OCT system. Now, please note we're going to be talking with Dr. Heier about medical devices not yet cleared for clinical use by the Food and Drug Administration. Let's listen in. Dr. Heier, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, please briefly describe the Notal Home OCT system. For example, what is it?
Sure. So Notal's Home OCT will help retina specialists monitor chronic neovascular age-related macular degeneration therapy between office visits. So it will include the ability to detect intra and subretinal fluid based on daily patient self-imaging. The program includes an easy-to-use patient-operated device that takes less than 1 minute per eye to operate. It then utilizes an artificial intelligence algorithm that analyzes images on the Notal Health Cloud and the Remote Monitoring Center, the provider of the program, which reports changes meeting the physician-selected fluid volume thresholds to the referring physician.
And how does it work?
Well, the way it works is the patients receive the home OCT from a remote monitoring center via FedEx. They take it out of the box, plug it into the wall, and then they watch a short video tutorial on the device that helps the patients get it set up. There's a self-alignment tool that guides the patient's eye to the correct position, and the scan is fully automated. Images are then transmitted automatically via a built-in cellular modem to a secure cloud where the AI algorithm identifies and quantifies the fluid. The remote monitoring center engages patients over the phone when they are non-compliant or need support or quite simply need to be reminded to keep taking the test.
That's great. Well, who is it for, by the way?
The Notal Home OCT will provide patient-initiated retinal OCT scans to support the management of patients with wet AMD, and it's intended to complement existing standard of care treatments, as well as emerging longer-acting drugs and drug delivery systems. So in short, patients who are getting treated for wet AMD with current anti-VEGF agents are the ideal candidates for the Notal Home device.
Now, I'd like to drill down a little bit more and ask, why is this important, would you say?
So the more we understand about the disease dynamics of individual patients, the more we understand the treatment responses, the better we can guide personal treatment to these patients. So looking at the daily images, understanding fluid responses, understanding when they dry up, when they recur, this can really help to personalize the treatment, maximize the treatment benefit, and accelerate the development of new drugs.
You know, now more than ever, physicians and patients are looking toward digital solutions for monitoring progressive disease. So how does this system enhance care and help preserve sight for wet AMD patients?
Home OCT patient monitoring has great potential to help reduce treatment burden on patients and their caregivers, supporting long-term adherence to therapy and improved outcomes. The remote monitoring services that patients receive from digital health providers allow retina specialists to extend their care to the patient's home.
Could you tell me what was the aim of the Notal Home OCT feasibility study?
The goal of the feasibility study was to demonstrate the device's ease of use, the good image quality that you could achieve from the device, compliant self-imaging, and spatiotemporal tracking of retinal fluid in an elderly wet AMD patient population supported by a remote monitoring center.
And what is the significance of the results from the Notal Home OCT feasibility study? For example, can you discuss the patient experience with the device and ease of use?
Absolutely. Well, the study demonstrated that patients had the ability to self-image and generate high-quality OCT scans at home that were easily read by remote physician review. And it was demonstrated to be effective in a wet AMD population. Nancy Holkamp in St. Louis and I enrolled 29 eyes in 15 patients with neovascular AMD with a mean age of 70.4 years old. Patients were asked to self-image daily for 3 months alongside standard of care treatment, meaning the anti-VEGF injections. What we found was that patients self-imaged on average 5.7 times per week, so on average 6 out of 7 days. And we found that the average scan took just around 40 seconds per eye. Of these, 97% of scans had good quality, meaning quality of sufficient quality to be able to read the images, and 93% of those scans met the eligibility criteria for artificial intelligence-based fluid quantification. It was truly reassuring to see how good the image quality was from such a compact self-imaging device that patients could learn to use and operate on their own. Nancy and I reviewed these images remotely through a secure web reviewer, and we were able to gain great insights into treatment response and disease activity between office visits. For instance, when fluid resolved and when it came back relative to their regularly scheduled treatment visits.
Speaking of insights, how can the insight into disease dynamics from the device's AI-based analysis provide opportunities for personalized treatment?
Sure. Well, I think from a clinician standpoint, it's easy to imagine how a home OCT would allow us to better personalize treatment, because it could enable us to extend treatment intervals faster if we have the confidence that we can pick up recurrence of fluid on a daily basis. And it enables us to extend them in a safe manner because we know we're going to bring patients to the office when needed. It would also go hand in hand as we develop longer acting treatment solutions. So what we saw in some of the standard of care eyes we monitored in this study is that fluid recurred not just prior to the visit, but at times it was actually present 2 weeks prior to the scheduled office visit. Being able to track fluid in these patients, being able to understand the fluid volume trajectories over time will allow us to set specific notification criteria. For instance, if some patients recur with very little fluid and then have more fluid recur after a certain amount of time, we can use that to gauge when we should be noted or notified. Patients can be brought to the office as soon as a specific amount of fluid is noticed in some cases, or in some cases, we may want to be notified and bring them to the office with any fluid. In some patients, this may enable us to lower the treatment burden, but in other patients, it may allow us to be more proactive and actually limit fluid exposure to the retina, since we've had numerous studies that show us that fluid exposure to the retina can harm visual acuity. The good news is that retina specialists will be able to not only perform this work, but they'll be compensated for the time performing this work in their review of home OCT data every 30 days, independent from the use of in-office OCT imaging.
What are the next steps for the Notal Home OCT system?
The next steps include FDA regulatory trials that are ongoing to clear the device for use.
Well, Dr. Heier, fascinating subject, and thanks so much for joining us on the program to enlighten us on this topic today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.